Okay, so in this video, we move on to question number 5. And in question number 5, it says, Hugh creates a website for a band. Explain one drawback to the website of to the website users. Okay, one drawback to the website users of Hugh reducing the file size of images used on the website. Now, it's very important to understand, guys, the drawback there that you are about to write should be towards the website users. Okay. So the drawback that we could come up with is that, look, when Hue reduces the file size, definitely the quality of the images are also going to be reduced. Okay, in order to reduce a file size, we have to reduce the quality of the image. Now, when the quality of the image is reduced, users may not be able to see a very clear image. They may not be able to see a very sharp image. They may not be able to see the image with its true colors. Is it clear? So let's put that answer over here. You can say, when the file size is reduced, the quality of the image will also be reduced. Okay. So now remember, you have to write your answer in terms of the website users. So this would lead to website users not being able to view the image in its best colors or in its best form. Okay. So for example, when they view the image, since the quality has been dropped so that the file size becomes smaller, the image might be slightly blurry. The colors may not be the exact colors. The sharpness may not be there. Okay. So this is a drawback that the website users will have to deal with when the file sizes are reduced. Okay. Right. Moving on to the B question, it says, describe the function of two network components that are used to transfer data on the internet. Okay, two network components. Okay, so for example, one network component that we can talk about, okay, when it comes to transferring data on the internet, we can talk about a router, for example. Okay, we can talk about a router. So the function of the router, very easy, used to connect two different networks. Okay, for example, LAN to WAN. Okay, so when it comes to a router has multiple functions. One is, for example, it stores the IP address of all the connected devices. Another function is, for example, it sends the data to the correct connected device. Okay, when data comes to the router reads the packet, reads the IP address on each packet, and then sends those data packets to the correct device. That's another function of the router. Okay, another function of the router is connecting to the internet service provider. So I have just mentioned only one here, which is the router is used to connect two different networks. Okay, so for example, you have a LAN, you have a local area network. This local area network needs to be connected to the internet. So the router will enable that connection. So either you can call it a router or you can call it a gateway. Okay, when two different networks are being connected, it's known as a gateway. So either you can call it as a router is enabling that, or you can even call it a gateway. Okay, up to you. Right. Another network component that we can talk about is, look, we need cables. Okay, when you have a network, you need cables in order to transfer data. So your cables can be twisted pair cables, it can be fiber cables, it can be copper cables. Okay, so the cable that I would go with is fiber optic cable. Okay, so you can say uh, these cables would be used to transfer data across the network. Okay, so cables, you can mention any one of the cables that you want. Okay, so there are other devices that you can mention as well. So for example, you can mention a switch. So in a network, you have a switch where multiple devices will be connected via a wired connection. So for example, you have 20 desktop computers. You want to share one internet connection with 20 desktop computers. So then what you do is you have all 20 desktop computers connected to the switch. Okay, and then you also connect the internet to the switch. So now the internet connection will be shared with all 20 desktop computers. So you can also mention a switch over here. And then the function is, you can say a switch can be used to connect multiple wired devices and also share the internet connection with all these wired devices. Okay. Then, for example, you can also speak about a wireless access point. So a wireless access point is used to connect wireless devices to a network. Okay, so a wireless access point will be used to connect multiple wireless devices to a network. Okay, to a router, for example. Right. Explain why streaming allows users with limited storage on their devices to listen to the band's music. Now, guys, you need to first keep in mind when we speak about streaming, we are talking about getting content directly from the internet. Okay, so for example, when you watch Netflix is video streaming. Okay, so you're getting content from Netflix server computer, it is coming onto your device and it is being temporarily stored on your device. You get it? It is temporarily being stored on your device. Okay, the moment you close Netflix, the data is completely erased from your device. Now, if you download something, now we are talking about streaming here. Okay, so streaming, I told you the data is only temporarily stored on your device. It's temporarily stored in an area called buffer, and this buffer is stored in your RAM. Okay, so the moment you close the program, the moment you close the web browser, whatever it is that you're using, the moment you close it, the data is gone, deleted, completely gone. Okay. However, instead of streaming, if you do downloading, what happens is the files are permanently stored on your storage. You get it? When you download, the files are permanently stored on your storage until you delete them. Okay, but in streaming, they are only temporarily stored on your storage. Okay, so here they're asking you, explain why streaming allows users with limited storage on their device to listen to the band's music. So you can say, in streaming, the data is not permanently stored on the user's device. It's only temporarily stored there. Okay, it's only temporarily. Once they close the program, once they close the file, the data is deleted, the data is gone. Okay, so it will not be a problem even if their storage is limited. Okay, right. So let's go ahead. Let's say in streaming, the data is only temporarily stored. So it is stored in an area called the buffer. Okay, so for example, when you watch a YouTube video, we say the video is buffering now. So buffering meaning the data is being stored to an area called the buffer. That's why you say buffering. Okay, the buffer is still filling up. Okay, it's temporarily stored in an area called the buffer. Now you may ask them, where is this buffer stored? This buffer is stored in your RAM. Okay, it's stored in your RAM. Okay, so the moment you close the Google Chrome, the moment you close the YouTube tab, or the moment you close Google Chrome, what happens? The data that was there in your RAM is removed. It's completely removed. It's completely erased. Okay, so in streaming, the data is temporarily stored in the buffer. Okay, it's temporarily stored. Once the respective program is closed, the data held in the buffer is removed completely. Okay, it is not permanently stored, so it would not be a problem to the limited storage on a device. Okay, so say for example, you have a laptop that has 100 GB hard disk only, no problem. This data in the buffer is only going to be stored in your RAM, and it's going to be stored in your RAM temporarily only. Temporarily, the moment you close Netflix, the moment you close YouTube, the moment you close Google Chrome, that data is going to be deleted. So no problem, your hard disk data is not going to be filled up. Okay, and even if it gets filled up, it's only temporarily being filled up. The moment you close it, it's all gone thereafter. Okay, so that's what I have explained over here. Right, moving on to the next question. Describe one method that should be used to secure payment data transferred between Hughes server and other computers. Okay, so when it comes to transferring confidential data such as payment data, okay, you need to ensure that it is using encryption. Okay, so for example, if you're on an e-commerce site, okay, you can just check the URL bar. On top they have the URL bar. Now in the URL bar, if you see the padlock symbol, it means all data that is being exchanged between your computer and the server computer is encrypted. Now, what do we mean by encrypted? It means that the moment you send data to the server computer, it is translated, it is scrambled into a different form. Okay. So even if somebody gets hold of the data in the middle, while it's going from your computer to the server computer in the middle, if somebody gets hold of your data, since it has been encrypted, since it has been scrambled into a different form, the person who got the data in the middle will not be able to understand the data because it has been scrambled. Is it clear? So this data will only come back to its original form, or it will only be decrypted once it reaches its destination, which is the server computer. Now, once it reaches the server computer has to give you a response. Okay. Now, when the server computer responds to you, that data will also be encrypted. So if anybody in the middle gets hold of the data, once again, they wouldn't understand it. And this data will only come back to its original form. It will only come back, it will only be decrypted once it reaches your computer. Okay, so this is what you call encryption, where when the data leaves your computer, it gets scrambled into a different form. We say it has become encrypted. Once it reaches its correct destination, which is the server computer, it will become decrypted, which means it becomes unscrambled. It comes back to its original form. Okay, so anybody in the middle who tries to hack and get hold of your data, they will simply not be able to understand it. Okay, so let's simply put an answer over here. Describe one method. You can say you should ensure that his data is encrypted. His data is being encrypted. His data is encrypted. Okay, encryption. But they're giving you 3 marks, so you have to properly describe. Encryption would ensure that the data is scrambled during transmission. Okay, and it only comes back to its original form. Okay, so you can either say original form or you can put a slash and say decryption. So it only comes back to its original form, or decrypt, we can say. So it only comes back to its original form or decrypts once it reaches its correct destination. Okay. So encryption would ensure that the data is scrambled during transmission, and it only comes back to its original form once it reaches its current destination. Okay, so since they're giving 3 marks, we have to also mention one more thing. What if somebody gets hold of it? So if anybody, sorry. So if anybody in the middle gets hold of the transferred data, they would not be able to understand it. Okay. So if anybody gets hold of the data during transmission, they would simply not be able to understand, as it has been encrypted, as it has been scrambled into a different form. Okay. We also have a spelling mistake over here. Let me correct that. Okay, so yeah, this is the method that you should ensure. Okay, so guys, when you're on a website and you're about to enter confidential data on that website, you should always check the URL bar. And on the URL bar, if you do see the padlock symbol, it means data is being encrypted. Whatever data you send during transmission, it is being encrypted, and when the server computer responds to you, it will also come back to you in encrypted format. So you should check for that padlock symbol. Okay, now here they haven't asked us how can we ensure, how can we check. They have not asked that. Okay, so we don't need to mention the padlock symbol and all that. Okay, right, then let's move on to the next question then. So in question A, it says, describe how WPA is a more secure protocol than WEP. So both of these are protocols that are used in encryption. Okay. So WPA, okay, WPA is the latest protocol that is used in encryption, and it stands for Wi-Fi protected access, and it's the latest protocol. It has the most security. Okay. And then we have WEP, which is wireless encryption protocol. So this was the first protocol for encryption, and thereafter WPA came. So WPA is definitely much more secure, has more security standards than WEP. So they're asking, describe how. So it is because, guys, in WEP, now they use one key. Basically one formula is used to encrypt the data for all devices. All devices are using the same formula for encrypting and decrypting data. Is it clear? But when it comes to WPA, a different key, a different formula is used for every device that connects. Okay, every device gets a different key. But in WEP, every device gets the same key. It's a shared key. Okay, all the devices are sharing a common key. Is it clear? So it's not that secure. But in WPA, every device gets a different key, or a new key is generated for every device, which makes it much more secure than WEP. Okay, so over here you can say in WPA, a new key is generated for every device, unlike in WEP, where the same key is shared among all connected devices. Okay. Among all connected devices. Okay. All right. Moving on to question number F. It says hosted applications have fewer features than local applications. So when you talk about hosted applications, you're talking about applications that run on the internet. So you mostly access them through your web browser. Okay, so explain one positive impact on the user experience of reducing the number of features. Okay, so now these are applications that are loading on the internet. So if they are going to have too many features on them, they are definitely going to take a very long time to load. So when they take a long time to load, the user experience is definitely going to go down. Users are going to get frustrated. They're going to get fed up having to wait for them to load, isn't it? Which is why, guys, hosted applications come with only the most important features. Okay, come with minimum features so that they load quickly, giving the user a better experience. Okay, so let's put that answer over here. You can say uh, more features would cause the application to take a longer time to load, thus negatively affecting the user experience. Okay, so with fewer features, it would take a much shorter time to load, thus giving the user a pleasant or a smooth user experience. Is it clear? So with fewer features or most essential features, it would take a shorter time to load. So the user wouldn't have a problem with it. The user will not have to wait. It will not get stuck. Okay, issues like this will not be there. Okay. Right. We come to the final question. So like normally in theory papers, there are two essay questions. So this is the final one. Okay. So over here, they talk about evaluate, okay, how online communities have impacted on how we socialize, okay? So when we say online communities, there are various communities, instant messaging, social media, forums, wikis, okay, like this, we have various online communities, and these communities, without a doubt, have changed, have affected how we socialize with one another in today's world, okay? So you have to spend some time and think about it and then come up with a mind map. Okay, come up with a mind map. Think about all the possible ways and simply just note it down. Okay, note it down. Note whatever comes to your mind. What are the points that come to your mind on how online communities have changed, have affected on how we socialize with one another. Just note down those points. Okay. Now, once you have those set of points, then start choosing which point am I confident in talking about? Which point can I properly evaluate? I can properly explain it. So select 3 to 4 points that you can properly explain, that you can properly present an example for. Is it clear? So now this is my mind map. This is what I came up with. Okay, so it's some of the points you may not even understand because I just quickly took them down. Okay, just a rough sketch of my points. Okay. Okay, so these are my points that I came up with. Okay, and then I chose which one I'm confident in talking about, which one I can explain well, for which ones I have good examples. I think I chose how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. I chose 4 points. Okay, so you can choose anywhere between 3 to 4. Okay, now first, when you start writing, like I have been telling you previously, you have to first give a very simple introduction. Okay, have most definitely impacted how we socialize with one another in today's world. Okay, so now I have started speaking about the impact. Okay, so I'm going to copy all of them. So in my first point, I have said social media is extremely popular, from teenage and above, almost every one of them are on a social media network. Okay. Now that's a good thing. Sounds good. We're having everybody on social media, but the problem is everybody is easily distracted by the notifications that keep popping up. Okay, so this has led to many of us not paying attention to those who are physically around us. So, for example, you go to a function, you go to a birthday party, you go to meet somebody. Okay, the moment your phone vibrates, the moment your phone rings, you look at your phone. And then sometimes you completely forget that there's somebody standing right in front of you who you were just having a conversation with. Okay, so this problem is there. We completely forget those who are physically around us, or we do not give proper attention to those who are physically around us, and instead we are busy with our digital devices. Okay, next, I have spoken about another problem where we are unable to express our body language and emotions because we are always behind a screen. When you're behind the screen typing, you can always hide your emotions. You can always put a laughing face. You can put LOL. You can talk as if you are not sad. You guys have already experienced this and you know what I'm talking about. But then when it comes to physically talking to somebody and you are actually sad, or you see somebody who is sad, you do not have proper practice in how to deal with this situation because you are regularly doing it behind a screen. Now, when you have to physically actually do it to somebody you see somebody crying, you see somebody sad, you see somebody scared, you have no practice in comforting them, in making them feel better. You feel awkward. You feel, like if I can just turn the other way and walk out of this, that would be better, isn't it? So that's what I have spoken about here. This has led to many becoming unable to express their feelings or emotions physically. We can do it superbly behind a screen, but physically we find very difficult to do this. Okay. A positive impact, however, is that give us all a chance to keep in touch with our loved ones, irrespective of ours or their physical location. So this is something awesome. This is something good. Online communities, you can use online communities to keep in touch with those who you care about. Okay, so you have family members living in another part of the world. Through online communities such as instant messaging or social networking, you can keep in touch with them. Okay, so this is something good. But guys, remember, you have to come up with a conclusion. Okay, you have to end with a conclusion. So what I have said is it is important to understand the usage of online communities is only growing by the day. It's definitely growing. The number of users on networks is only increasing. Okay, and this has led to users being able to express themselves very confidently online. People can talk big online, can pretend to be doing great online, but sadly, when it comes to them dealing with one another physically, individuals tend to become very shy and lack a lot of confidence in socializing physically. Okay, so you would find many people, they would prefer you text rather than call them. They would prefer you text rather than come and physically meet you. You have already dealt with such people. Okay, so this is the effect of online communities where it has made us great behind a screen. It has given us the chance to maybe portray a fake life, and then when it comes to actually living the truth, okay, it has made us become very uncomfortable. It has made us not at all confident. It has made us shy. It has made us reserved, introvert. These kind of problems have come up. Okay. Now, guys, as you can see in my conclusion, I have a conclusion that is speaking on the negative side. But you may feel no, 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 no. Online communities have actually positively impacted has positively impacted on how we socialize. You may feel that. So then your conclusion has to be such. Your conclusion is say online communities have positively impacted on how we socialize because of the following reasons. Okay. Now I have said it has not positively. I have said it has negatively impacted. Okay, but your conclusion can be different. Okay, but guys, if your conclusion is a positive conclusion, then your points over here also should be more positive than negative. Now over here I have two negative, one positive, so it makes sense for me to have a negative conclusion. Okay, so just do keep that in mind. And guys, I'm reminding you again, in the description of the video, I have given you the details. So if any questions, if you need any help, if you want to join one of my live classes or anything, guys, do check the description in the video. Details have been provided. Okay, with that, we have come to the end of this paper. So I hope this series of videos have been of benefit to you. Okay, I really, really do hope my explanation has been good enough. I hope I have not spoken too fast or confused you. Okay. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this paper. Okay. And See you around. See you later. Take care. Bye bye.